Lawmakers in the United States have held up a proposed sale of arms to Nigeria, citing human rights concerns. Bipartisan members of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee have delayed clearing the sale of 12 AH-1 Cobra attack helicopters and defense systems to Nigerian military. It is also dealing with $875 million worth of arms. Just a couple of weeks ago, Nigerian authorities took delivery of 12 Super Tucano attack helicopters from the United States, a development that was celebrated by the military experts as being able to mark an appreciable upturn in fortunes for the fighting troops. But what could this reversal mean for anti-terror campaign? Is high-wire politics or diplomacy at play here? Now, for answers to these questions and a lot more, we now turn to Ambassador Joe Keshi, a one-time consul at the Nigeria diplomatic mission in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, welcome to the show. And let's start it off here. The U.S. refusing to sell arms to us. On the surface, should we read meanings to it? Or are they trying to make a massive statement here to the Nigerian government?
Good afternoon, and thanks for having me. In the first place, from all available reports, it's not yet clear whether a decision has been made or that a decision has not been made on this issue. But certainly, we are back to where we were a couple of years ago. It's like this shouldn't come as a surprise to anybody, given the fact that these things do occur often. But there are a number of issues that has been raised by all the reports available. You know, number one, I have always insisted that when we join the United States to describe Nigeria as a strategic ally, that is not true. You don't treat strategic allies like this. Let me show you how the United States treats strategic allies. Immediately after the Israeli-Palestinian conflict a few weeks ago, about 2 months ago, the Americans replenished the arsenal of the Israelis. In other words, they supplied them some of the things they lost in that battle. And yet, the world condemned Israel for its massive destruction of Gaza. The American Senate or House did not penalize Israel for human rights violations. But when it comes to Nigeria, of course, they are very quick to react. And that shows you the difference between a strategic ally and maybe an important or an ally you have a cordial relationship with. The second thing, of course, is that you cannot blame the United States all the time. Look, it's very shameful. And I've said this a couple of times. It's very shameful that so many years after, our security forces have not learned how to behave, how to treat Nigerian citizens with respect and decorum. When you look at some of the papers today of the trial in Zaria, or is it El Zakari or whatever, you just see the number of policemen that were used. In a simple trial of one man and the wife, what was all that show of force for? And this is the problem that our security forces create for us. Unnecessary display of force at every little event. Look at what they did at Kanu's event. Look at what they do at the NSAS event. Very simple demonstration. They just believe that overwhelming force and maltreatment of Nigerians is the way to go. No. It is the consequences of these actions that we are about to pay for. And until we reform the police and the military to respect the lives of Nigerians, and that Nigerians have the right to demonstrate, and that going to court over one issue does not mean you empty the whole police force in a show of force and rascality. This is the consequence, and that is exactly what is about to happen.
Okay.
I sincerely hope that there is still room for the Nigerian government to argue and tell and convince the United States that Nigeria needs these armaments, you know, these helicopters and planes for its operations in order to maintain the nation's security.
Okay, Ambassador Keshi, some might still argue that there is still much evidence of a dilemma here and possibly a partisan one. The Tucano airplanes we received apparently were agreed to under Trump's administration. So we see now a change of administration and suddenly we're having some sort of resistance. And we have a chronicling of Americans supplying armaments to countries. Apparently we have bombs in Yemen from America. We have in Cameroon other American armaments. We even have in Hong Kong armaments being fired against pro-democracy agitators. So you say Nigerians don't know how to behave, but are we to wait for us to behave before the civilians are protected?
Look, in some of these countries you've mentioned, they've also taken similar actions. Let's not make this comparison. What we should consider, look, the irony of this is that, remember, because you are saying we have paid for these things, remember that the Jonathan administration paid, I think it was in 2015 or before 2015, and it was suspended again because of this same, you know, human right violations. And the APC in waiting, government in waiting at that time, actually demonized the Jonathan administration and contributed to the delays that were experienced. And now they have created the same problem. And it's not a question of whether there's a violation in Hong Kong. All these countries, check it out. They've also experienced one sanctions or the other. But my argument is that we are not yet sure of exactly what the US Senate or the House would do. What we know for now is that there's that possibility that they might recommend to the US government to delay. They can only delay. They cannot say they will not sell eventually. They can only delay at the end of the day. And that's why I suggested that this is a time for the Nigerian ambassador in Washington and the Minister of Foreign Affairs to do the best they can to explain this Nigerian situation to the U.S. authorities in the hope that eventually they would, you know, approve the sales of the aircrafts to Nigeria.
Probably finally ask you, what should the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria do at a time like this with this news coming up? Because you've spoken about what the ambassador should do, but what about the role of the President in this?
Well, you see, I doubt if the Nigerian president can do much beyond putting a phone call across to Joe Biden. You have to understand the U.S. system. Not too long ago, under the Trump administration, there was actually some attempts by the Trump administration to remove that powers of the House or the Senate, you know, to hold on to transactions like this. And there was a strong pushback, you know, from Congress. So right now, it's a question of the Congress, not the administration itself. Now, that's exactly what I said. This is the job for the ambassador to walk up to Congress and begin to talk or speak to the key individuals who have the powers to hold the Congress from approving the sales. So there's very little the president can do, but the ambassador, I believe, can do a lot because he's the lady on the ground right now. He's the one who can go out to Senate and meet all the senators and Congress men and women in the committee that has the powers to eventually approve the sales.
Okay, Ambassador Keshi, let's put you in the shoes of the ambassador. You are going to Congress. What would be your argument? And then are we to explore the alternative route of China or Russia for armaments in the case that this doesn't go through?
For your information, a lot of Nigerian ambassadors will tell you that they've had a far more serious situation even under the Abacha regime. We found a way to build up an argument to make the Americans see reason. Number one, our national interest is at stake. Number two, we can undertake and make a promise to reform and to change some of the concerns that they have expressed. Those are the only two things you can do at this point. But the point is, we need those things for our own national security. And we need to remind the Americans also that you cannot be talking of global terrorism and you are denying us the means to fight and stop the spread of that global terrorism in our own neck of the wood. So these are the arguments I believe that the ambassador needs to make. And I have no doubt in my mind that the ambassador will find sympathizers among the congressmen and senators in the US Congress. But she needs to make that point very clear about our own interests, about the global interests, and the fact that certainly we will undertake to make some reforms that will minimize our human rights violations.
And very quickly, China or Russia, are they still options?
Huh?
China or Russia, are they still
Come
options?
again.
Very quickly.
Come again, please.
Are China or Russia still options? Very quickly.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If you remember during the Civil War, we had similar situations that the British, for example, will not sell us arms. President Nixon, anytime he's told about the Nigerian situation, says to his staffers, look, I don't have a problem with this. Let them go to the British. And eventually we went to the Russians and got what we wanted. So they still remain a credible option, but we still need to pursue this. For one reason, we have paid for it, and they have, and it's once they have finished the manufacturing, they're obligated to to deliver to Nigeria. It is just the process that we've hit some obstacles, and that's where the ambassador needs to help resolve these obstacles. But beyond that, I'm confident that somewhere along the line, they will definitely deliver those items to us.
Many thanks to you, Ambassador Joe Keshi, a one-time consul at the Nigerian Diplomatic Mission in Atlanta, Georgia. Thank you for joining us here on this.